Welcome to a captivating tale of second chances, ultimate betrayals, and sweet vengeance that transforms into a journey of profound self-discovery. In this story, we follow a young woman who, after being betrayed and murdered in her first life, wakes up with a miraculous chance to rewrite her destiny. Set against the sophisticated backdrop of London's high society and the competitive culinary world, this narrative explores what happens when we stop sacrificing ourselves for those who do not value us. With adapted British characters, settings, and cultural elements, prepare to immerse yourself in a story about taking back your power and building an empire of your own. I watched my sister Chloe slip the diamond ring onto her finger, the same ring I died trying to earn in my previous life. This time, I didn't cry. I smiled and raised my champagne glass. "Congratulations," I said, my voice steady as steel. "Liam is all yours." Chloe's perfectly manicured hand trembled slightly. Something in my tone must have unsettled her. But she recovered quickly, flashing that radiant smile that had always gotten her everything she wanted. Everything that should have been mine. "Thank you, Clara," she purred, pressing herself against Liam's side. "I know how much you cared for him, but he and we just have this connection. You understand, don't you?" Oh, I understood perfectly. I understood that in my previous life, I'd killed myself working 3 jobs to put Liam through law college. I understood that the moment he passed his solicitor's exam, Chloe had seduced him at his celebration party. I understood that when I'd confronted them, she'd pushed me down the stairs of our family home, and my own mother had helped cover it up as an accident. I understood that I died at 26, broken and alone, while they'd gone on to live a beautiful life, funded by my life insurance money. But that was my first life. This was my second chance. "I understand completely," I replied, and I meant every word. "Actually, I'm seeing someone myself now. Someone absolutely perfect." "Really?" Chloe's eyes narrowed. She hated when attention shifted away from her. "Who?" I checked my phone as if receiving a message. "He's texting me now. Actually wants to know if I'm ready to be picked up." "Bring him inside," my mother insisted, materializing beside Chloe, like she always did, orbiting her favorite daughter like a moon around its planet. "We'd love to meet him." "Oh, I don't think. I insist," Mum said, her voice taking on that sharp edge I knew so well. The edge that said I was being difficult, ungrateful, problematic. The edge that had cut me to ribbons in my first life. Fine. They wanted to meet him. They could meet him. I typed a quick message. "Come inside. It's time." 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I answered it myself, stepping aside to let him enter. Richard Kensington walked into our modest living room like he owned it, which, given his net worth, he could have purchased it with pocket change. At 52, he was distinguished, powerful, and more handsome than any man had a right to be. His silver-touched dark hair and sharp gray eyes commanded attention. His custom Savile Row suit probably cost more than my parents' mortgage payment. He was also Liam's father. The room fell silent. Liam's face drained of color so fast, I thought he might faint. "Everyone," I said sweetly. "This is Richard. Richard. This is my family. That's my mother, Margaret. My father, Arthur. And my sister, Chloe. And I believe you already know your son, Liam." "Dad?" Liam's voice cracked. "What are you?" "Good to see you, son," Richard said coolly, then turned to me with a warmth that made my heart genuinely flutter. "Clara, darling, are you ready for dinner?" He called me darling in front of everyone, and when he placed his hand on my lower back, the gesture was unmistakably possessive, undeniably intimate. Chloe's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "You're dating Liam's father?" "Dating seems like such a casual term," Richard mused, his hand moving to capture mine. I'd say we're quite serious. Wouldn't you, sweetheart? The pet name landed like a bomb. Liam looked like he might be sick. How long has this been going on? My mother demanded. Her voice shrill. About 6 months, I lied smoothly. It had actually been 4, but who was counting? We met at that charity gala in Mayfair I catered last spring. Do you remember, Richard? I was serving champagne, and you said that I had the most intelligent eyes you'd ever seen. He finished, his smile genuine. And I asked you to leave your station and have dinner with me instead. Best impulsive decision I ever made. This part was actually true. In my previous life, I'd been so focused on Liam, on supporting him, on being the perfect girlfriend that I'd never noticed his father's interest. But when I'd been reborn, waking up on my 21st birthday with 10 years of memories burning in my mind, I'd remembered that gala differently. I'd remembered Richard Kensington asking me to dinner. I'd remembered saying no, because I had to get home to cook for Liam. This time, I'd said yes. 6 months. Liam finally found his voice. Dad, you're 30 years older than her. 26 years. Richard corrected calmly. And your concern is noted, though I recall you're currently dating her sister, who is 3 years younger than Clara. If we're discussing appropriateness, shall we examine that relationship as well? That's different, Liam sputtered. How so? The question hung in the air unanswered, because there was no good answer. The only difference was that Richard had money, power, and status, while Liam was still climbing the ladder. The ladder I'd funded in my previous life. We should go, I said, squeezing Richard's hand. We have reservations at the Ledbury. The Ledbury? My father spoke for the first time, his eyes wide. The most expensive restaurant in London. The one with a 6-month waiting list. That's very nice. Richard knows the owner, I said casually, because he did. Richard knew everyone who mattered. As we turned to leave, Chloe grabbed my arm. Her grip was tight, desperate. Clara, wait. Can we talk privately? I looked at her hand on my arm, then met her eyes. In my previous life, I'd seen calculation there. Triumph. Cruel pleasure. Now I saw panic. We're running late, I said, gently removing her hand. But congratulations again on your engagement. I hope you and Liam will be very happy together. The emphasis on Liam was subtle but deliberate. Not Liam and his trust fund. Not Liam and his family connections. Just Liam. Liam with his crushing university debts that I wasn't paying anymore. Liam with his entry-level position at a firm that would take years to make him partner. Just Liam. As Richard guided me to his car, a Bentley, naturally, I could feel their stares burning into my back. Let them stare. Let them wonder. Let them panic. This was only the beginning. 6 months earlier, I'd woken up on my 21st birthday screaming. The memories had crashed over me like a tsunami. 5 years of devotion, betrayal, and finally the stairs. Chloe's hands on my chest. The backward fall. The crack of my skull against the marble floor. My mother's face above me. Not concerned, but calculating. She fell. Mum had said into the phone. She must have slipped. These stairs are so dangerous. Except I hadn't slipped. I'd been murdered. I'd sat in bed. 21 again. My whole body shaking. It was the morning of what should have been Liam's law college graduation party. The party where Chloe would seduce him in my first life. The party where everything had started to unravel, but I had a chance now. I could stop it. I could confront Chloe, expose her plans, save my relationship with Liam. Then I'd stopped. Really stopped and thought, did I want to save it? In my first life, I'd met Liam when I was 19, and he was 22, a charming pre-law student who'd swept me off my feet. I'd dropped out of culinary school to support him financially. I'd worked as a waitress, a caterer, a bartender, whatever paid the bills while he studied. I'd proofread his papers at 2 a.m. I'd made his meals, cleaned his flat, supported his dreams. And he'd let me. He'd let me sacrifice everything, promising that once he graduated, once he passed his solicitor's exam, once he got established, it would be my turn. We'd get married. I could go back to culinary school. We'd start our real life together. But when that moment came, when he finally had his degree and his future secured, he'd looked at me, worn down from years of grinding work, no longer the bright-eyed girl he'd met. And he'd chosen my younger, fresher, shinier sister instead. Chloe hadn't worked for him. Chloe hadn't sacrificed for him. Chloe had simply wanted him when he was finally successful. And that had been enough. More than enough. So, no, I wasn't going to fight for Liam. I wasn't going to compete with Chloe for scraps. I was going to destroy them both. But first, I needed leverage. I needed power. I needed resources that I'd never had in my first life. That's when I remembered the gala. Richard Kensington. The dinner invitation I'd refused. I'd spent the next 3 weeks planning. I'd researched Richard thoroughly. His business empire. His divorce 5 years ago. His estrangement from Liam after the son had taken his mother's side. I'd learned his favorite restaurants, his charitable causes, his schedule. And when the gala came, I'd been ready. "You have the most intelligent eyes I've ever seen," he'd said, just like before. This time, when he asked me to dinner, I'd smiled and said, "I'd love to." That first dinner had been a test for both of us. He'd been intrigued by a young woman who could discuss business strategy and didn't giggle at his jokes like they were profound. I'd been surprised to find that behind his intimidating reputation, Richard was genuinely kind, wickedly funny, and deeply lonely. "My son thinks I'm a tyrant," he told me over our third bottle of wine. "His mother poisoned him against me during the divorce. Said I cared more about work than family." "Did you?" I'd asked boldly. He'd considered it seriously. "Probably. I was building an empire. I thought I was building security for them. But I see now I was absent. I missed birthdays, recitals, games." When Catherine left, Liam was 18 and furious with me. "We haven't had a real conversation in years. Do you want to fix that?" "I don't know if I can. He won't talk to me. He changed his number and refuses to see me. All I can do is pay his law college tuition through his mother's account and hope that someday he'll understand." That's when I'd known. Liam hadn't been paying for law college with my money in my first life. Not entirely. Richard had been funding most of it through Catherine. The student loans Liam had complained about were minimal compared to what the degree actually cost. He'd let me believe I was his sole support. Let me work myself to death, when his father had been paying the bulk of his expenses all along. The betrayal had burned even hotter. "Tell me about you," Richard had said. "Why is a brilliant young woman working as a caterer when she could be running the world?" "So," I told him, "not about the rebirth. I wasn't insane. But about dropping out of culinary school, about supporting a boyfriend through law college, about putting my dreams on hold." "You're still with this boyfriend?" he'd asked, his eyes sharp. "For now," I'd said, "but I'm reconsidering my priorities." "Good," he'd said. "You should never make yourself smaller for someone else's dreams. What do you want, Clara? If you could have anything." No one had ever asked me that in my entire first life. In these first few months of my second, no one had ever asked what I wanted. "I want my own restaurant," I'd whispered. "A small place, intimate, where I can create art on a plate. I want to build something that's mine. Then you should, he'd said simply. Life's too short to live for other people. We'd started seeing each other regularly after that. Coffee dates became dinners, became weekend trips. I'd broken up with Liam after his graduation party, before Chloe could make her move. He'd been shocked, stammering about our future together, the plans we'd made. Plans change, I'd said simply. I want different things now. I want someone who values me as I am now, not who I might be once I've destroyed myself for them. This is about money, isn't it? He'd accused. You're upset that I'm not rich yet. You can't wait for me to build my career. The irony had been delicious. Sure, Liam, it's about money. You figured it out. I'd moved out of the flat we'd shared, the flat I'd paid for, and into a place of my own. A small studio, nothing fancy. But it was mine. I'd picked up more catering gigs and started saving aggressively. Richard had offered to help financially, but I'd refused. I needed to build something myself with my own hands, even if his mentorship and connections were invaluable. And they were invaluable. Richard introduced me to restaurant owners, investors, chefs. He taught me about business strategy, about reading contracts, about protecting myself legally. He never patronized me or dumbed things down. He treated me like an equal partner in intellectual conversations, valued my opinions, listened to my ideas. Somewhere along the way, what started as a strategic alliance, revenge against a son who'd rejected him, leverage for me, became something real. I fell in love with Richard Kensington, not because of his money, though I'd be lying if I said the security wasn't appealing after years of poverty. Not because of his power, though the protection was nice, but because he saw me, the real me, the intelligent, ambitious, talented woman I'd never gotten to be in my first life. He encouraged my dreams instead of asking me to defer them. He celebrated my successes instead of feeling threatened by them. He wanted me to shine, not dim my light to make him more comfortable. I'm falling for you, he told me 3 months in, his voice uncertain. I know the age difference is significant. I know people will judge. I know my son is your ex-boyfriend, which complicates everything. Tell me if this is crazy. It's completely crazy, I'd agreed. And I'm falling for you too. He's going to hate me more than he already does, Richard had said quietly. When he finds out, I know he'll think I stole you from him. He didn't value me when he had me, I'd replied. You can't steal what someone threw away. That had been 2 months ago. We'd kept the relationship quiet, meeting in private, keeping our names out of social circuits. Richard wanted to protect me from the gossip, and I wanted time to build my plan because Liam and Chloe hadn't waited long. 6 weeks after I'd left him, Liam had started dating my sister. My mother had called, ecstatic, to tell me that Chloe had found love with such a promising young lawyer. The subtext was clear. Chloe had succeeded where I'd failed. Chloe had landed Liam properly with a ring and a future, while I'd just been a placeholder. They'd gotten engaged last week, and today was their engagement party, the perfect time for my entrance. Dinner at the Ledbury was exquisite. Richard ordered a bottle of wine that cost more than I used to make in a month, and we talked about everything except the scene at my parents' house. You were magnificent, he finally said over dessert. The look on Liam's face when you called me Richard. I thought he might actually faint. I'm sorry, I said. I know this makes things complicated with him, Clara. He reached across the table to take my hand. Liam stopped being my son in any meaningful way years ago. He made his choice when his mother left. I tried for years to rebuild our relationship, but he wanted nothing to do with me. If he's upset now, it's not because he cares about me. It's because he's realizing what he lost. Me? I asked. You, he confirmed. I've done my research on my son's relationships. I know you supported him through law college. I know you sacrificed your dreams for his. And I know that the moment you stopped being useful, he traded you in for a newer model. I blinked in surprise. You knew all of that when we met? Not at first, he admitted. But after our third date, place, 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 limace, two maze. Not at first, he admitted who you were. And when I learned what you'd given up, what you'd endured, it made me respect you even more. You could have been bitter. Instead, you walked away with your dignity and started building your own future. If only he knew the full truth. The rebirth, the murder, the revenge I was carefully orchestrating. Would he still respect me then? There's something I need to tell you, I said carefully, about why I left Liam when I did. About my sister. You don't owe me your history, Clara. I want to tell you anyway. So, I did. Not the part about dying and being reborn. That secret would stay locked away. But I told him about Liam's graduation party, about how I'd overheard Chloe talking to her friend about seducing Liam, about how she'd said she'd been waiting for him to finish university so he'd finally be worth the effort, about how she'd called me a fool for doing all the hard work while she'd reaped the rewards. So I left before she could make her move. I finished. I wasn't going to compete. I wasn't going to fight over someone who could be seduced away so easily. Better to find out sooner than later, right? Richard's jaw was tight with anger. Your own sister. Family can be the cruelest, I said softly. They know exactly where to strike. And your mother approved of this? From what I saw today, she seems to favor Chloe. She always has, I admitted. Chloe was the pretty one, the charming one, the daughter she could show off. I was useful. I could work, earn money, take care of things, but I was never the favorite. Their loss, Richard said fiercely. You're extraordinary, Clara. You're brilliant and talented and strong. If your family can't see that, they're fools. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. Thank you. I mean it, he insisted. And I want you to know whatever happens with Liam, with your family, I'm on your side. You're not alone anymore. Tears pricked my eyes. In my first life, I'd been so alone at the end. Even my death had been solitary, bleeding out on the marble floor while my mother lied to the paramedics. I love you, I whispered. The words escaped before I could stop them. Richard's eyes widened, then softened. I love you too, he said. I have for weeks now, but I didn't want to pressure you. I know the age difference. Doesn't matter, I interrupted. You're the first person who's ever made me feel valued for who I am, not what I can do for them. The first person who's encouraged my dreams. Instead of asking me to defer them, age is irrelevant. Then there's something I need to ask you, he said. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. I know it's fast, he said. I know people will talk. I know your family will lose their minds. But Clara, I want to spend my life with you. I want to support your dreams, the way you once supported someone else's. I want to build an empire with you, not just for you. Marry me. He opened the box. The ring inside was stunning. An emerald-cut diamond flanked by sapphires set in platinum. It was sophisticated, elegant, nothing like the traditional solitaire Liam had given Chloe. It was perfect. Yes, I breathed. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger and it fit perfectly. Because of course it did. Richard planned everything meticulously. We're going to cause a scandal, he warned, though he was grinning. Good, I said. Let them talk. What I didn't say. Let them panic. Let them realize what they've lost. Let them understand that they threw away a diamond and are stuck with glass. We sealed our engagement with a kiss that made the other diners discreetly look away. And when Richard suggested we go public immediately, I agreed. By morning, our engagement announcement would be in all the society pages of the Times. By noon, everyone we knew would have heard, including Liam, including Chloe, including my parents. Let the games begin. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. I ignored it. By 7 a.m., I had 43 missed calls, 20 from Chloe, 15 from my mother, 8 from my father, and surprisingly, none from Liam. The text messages were more illuminating. Chloe. Clara. What the hell? Call me now. Chloe. This is insane. You can't marry Richard. He's Liam's father. Chloe. Everyone is talking about this. You're embarrassing the whole family. Chloe. Fine. Ignore me. But you're making a huge mistake. My mother was less restrained. Mum, I raised you better than this. That man is old enough to be your father. What will people think? Call me immediately. My father, characteristically, was brief. Dad, let's talk. This seems rushed. I responded to none of them. Instead, I snuggled deeper into Richard's arms. We were at his penthouse, which had a view of the entire city of London, and smiled. They're freaking out, I told him, scrolling through the messages. As expected, he said, pressing a kiss to my temple. How do you feel? Satisfied, I admitted. Is that terrible? It's human, he replied. They've treated you poorly. It's natural to enjoy their discomfort. Your son still hasn't called. Richard's expression darkened. No, but his mother has. 6 times. What does Catherine want? To inform me that I'm a cradle-robbing pervert having a midlife crisis. Mostly, he said dryly. Also that I'm purposely trying to hurt Liam by seducing his ex-girlfriend. Are you hurt by what she said? No, he said simply. Catherine has been saying cruel things to me for years. I'm immune now, and her opinion of you is based on nothing but jealousy and protective instinct for Liam. She doesn't know you. She doesn't know how extraordinary you are. We should talk about the wedding, I said, changing the subject. How quickly do you want to do this? How quickly do you want your revenge? He countered, surprising me. I pulled back to look at him. What do you mean? Clara, I'm not a fool. I know there's more to this relationship than love. At least, on your end, initially. He held up a hand when I started to protest. I'm not angry about that. I went into this with eyes open. You were with my son for years. You sacrificed for him. Your sister stole him. And then you met me, his wealthy, powerful father, right when you were at your most vulnerable. The revenge implications are obvious. My heart pounded. And you're okay with that? I'm okay with being wanted for multiple reasons, he said. You want revenge? Yes. But you also love me. I see it in your eyes every time you look at me. You value my mind, my company, my partnership, the fact that loving me also happens to devastate your ex and your sister. That's just a bonus. You're remarkably understanding about being used, I said carefully. Oh, I don't feel used, he assured me. Because you're giving me something I want too. A chance to be important to someone again. A chance to support someone's dreams. A chance to build something meaningful. And yes, a chance to show my son that he was wrong about me. That I'm capable of a loving relationship. If that's using each other, then use away. I kissed him. Deeply and gratefully. You're incredible. So, he said when we broke apart. Back to my question. How quickly do you want to do this? As quickly as possible, I admitted. Liam and Chloe's wedding is in 3 months. I want to be married before then. Done, he said immediately. The registry office next week. Really? Really? I don't need a big wedding, Clara. I've had one of those. It ended in a bitter divorce. This time, I just want the marriage, the partnership, the commitment. We can have a party later if you want, but let's make it legal as soon as possible. Next week, I agreed, feeling giddy. Let's do it next week. I'll have my solicitor draw up a prenuptial agreement, he said. I want you protected, regardless of what happens. I don't need your money, Richard. I know you don't. That's one reason I love you. But I'm not young, Clara. I'm 52. You're 26. Statistically, you'll outlive me by decades. When I die, I want to know you're taken care of. I want to know the restaurant you build will be secure. I want to know that if my son challenges my will, which he will, you'll be protected. The casual mention of his death made my chest tight. Don't talk like that. I'm being practical, he said gently. I have a heart condition. Nothing immediately dangerous, but it's there. My father died at 63 from a heart attack. These are facts, not fears. And I need to know that when I'm gone, you'll be okay. If you have a heart condition, we need to focus on your health, I said firmly. Diet, exercise, stress management. I'm not losing you, he smiled. See, this is why I love you. You want to keep me around. Of course I do, you idiot. Then we'll work on my health together, he promised. But the prenup still happens. It protects both of us, and it makes the marriage cleaner legally. Fine, I agreed. Prenup next week. Marriage the week after. Perfect. My phone rang again. Chloe for the 44th time. You should probably talk to them eventually, Richard observed. Eventually, I agreed. But not today. Today, I just want to enjoy being engaged to you. I can work with that. We spent the day in blissful isolation, ordering room service and ignoring the world. But I knew it couldn't last forever. Tomorrow, I'd have to face them. Tomorrow, the real fun would begin. I agreed to meet Chloe at a coffee shop near our parents' house. Neutral territory, public, easy escape route. I'd learned strategic planning from my first life and refined it with Richard's mentorship in this one. She was already there when I arrived, looking polished and pretty in a designer dress that Liam probably bought her. Or more likely, that she'd bought with his credit card. Liam was generous with money he didn't have yet. Clara, she said, standing to hug me. I endured it stiffly. Thank you for meeting me. You called 44 times, I pointed out. It seemed important. It is important, she hissed, dropping the fake warmth immediately. What the hell are you thinking? Richard Kensington. He's Liam's father. I'm aware. And he's ancient. He's 52. I corrected. And more vibrant than most men half his age. He's using you, Chloe insisted. Can't you see that? He's probably having a midlife crisis and wanted a young trophy wife. You're being naive. The irony of Chloe calling me naive was almost too much. This was the woman who'd pushed me down the stairs and watched me die, who'd stolen my boyfriend and my life, and she was concerned about me being used. Even if that were true, I said calmly, what business is it of yours? You're my sister. Am I? I asked. Because sisters don't usually steal each other's boyfriends. Chloe had the grace to flush. That's different. Liam and I fell in love. We couldn't help it. You fell in love with him exactly 6 weeks after I left him, I noted. After he graduated law college and started his career. Funny timing. Love doesn't run on a schedule, Clara. No, but opportunism does. Chloe's eyes flashed with anger. Is that what this is about? You're still bitter about Liam? So, you're dating his father out of spite? I'm marrying his father, I corrected, holding up my hand to show the ring. And spite has nothing to do with it. I love Richard. He treats me with respect, supports my dreams, and values me as a person. Everything Liam never did. Liam loved you. Liam used me, I countered. I worked 3 jobs to put him through law college. I sacrificed my education, my career, my dreams. And the moment he didn't need me anymore, he traded me in for you. That's not how it happened. Isn't it? I leaned forward. Tell me, Chloe, when exactly did you decide you wanted Liam? Was it before or after he passed the solicitor's exam? She looked away, confirming my suspicion. That's what I thought, I said. You waited until he was successful, until the hard work was done, and then you swooped in for the rewards. You're a vulture, Chloe. You always have been. How dare you? I dare, because it's true, I said. You've spent your whole life taking what I built. Remember when I worked all summer to buy that car? Dad gave it to you the next day because you needed it more. Remember when I got accepted to culinary school? Mum convinced me to defer so I could help with the family restaurant. Then you convinced them to close it 6 months later. Remember when I saved up for that flat? You told the landlord I was an unreliable tenant and took the lease yourself. Chloe's face was white. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, I said softly. You've always been jealous of me, Chloe. I don't know why. You were the pretty one, the favorite. But it was never enough. You had to take everything that was mine. So, you took Liam too. He wanted me, she said desperately. He chose me because I did all the hard work of building him up, I agreed. You're welcome, by the way. I hope you enjoy the man I created. You're being vindictive and petty. No, I said, standing up. I'm being smart. I learned my lesson about investing in people who don't value me. So, I found someone who does. Someone who had already built his empire and doesn't need me to sacrifice for him. Someone who wants to build me up instead of the other way around. It won't last, Chloe said desperately. He'll get bored of you. Men like Richard Kensington don't stay with girls like you. Girls like me? I repeated dangerously. You know what I mean. She backpedaled. You're not. You're not sophisticated enough for his world. You're a caterer, Clara. He runs a billion-pound empire. You'll embarrass him at business dinners. You'll say the wrong thing to important people. He'll realize his mistake and leave you. And then, where will you be? In my first life, words like those would have cut me to the bone, would have made me doubt myself, shrink myself, believe I wasn't good enough. This time, I just smiled. Richard values intelligence over pedigree, I said. He values creativity over conformity. He values authenticity over performance. All things you wouldn't understand, Chloe, because you've spent your whole life performing, playing the role of the perfect daughter, the perfect sister, the perfect girlfriend. But it's all an act, isn't it? There's nothing real underneath. I picked up my purse and prepared to leave. Enjoy your wedding planning. I'm sure it will be lovely. Richard and I are getting married next week, at the registry office, by the way. Small ceremony, just us. We'll have a reception later, and don't worry. You and Liam will be invited. I wouldn't want you to miss the celebration, Clara. Wait, but I was already walking away. I'd said what I needed to say. The rest would unfold in its own time. Behind me, I heard Chloe start to cry. Good. Let her cry. Let her feel a fraction of what I'd felt in my previous life. This was only the beginning of her suffering. The prenup meeting was supposed to be straightforward. Richard's solicitor, a sharp woman named Fiona MacLeod, laid out the terms clearly. In the event of divorce, I'd receive a lump sum of £5 million plus the restaurant property Richard was buying for me, which we'd already picked out a beautiful space in a trendy London neighborhood currently under renovation. In the event of his death, I'd inherit 50% of his estate, with the other 50% divided between various charitable foundations. Surprisingly, Liam, you're leaving half to Liam? I asked, surprised. Even though we're estranged, he's still my son. Clara, Richard confirmed. I'm angry with him, disappointed by his choices, and hurt by his rejection. But I don't want to disinherit him completely. That feels cruel. It's more than he deserves, I muttered. Perhaps, Richard agreed. But it's what I can live with. Fiona cleared her throat. There's also a clause about the restaurant. Mr. Kensington is purchasing the property and funding the initial renovation and startup costs as a wedding gift. However, the business itself will be solely in your name, Miss Davies. If the marriage ends, you keep it free and clear. That's too generous, I protested. It's an investment, Richard corrected. I've seen your business plan, tasted your cooking, and observed your work ethic. You'll make that restaurant successful with or without me. This just gives you a head start. I don't want people thinking I married you for money, I said quietly. People will think what they want, Fiona interjected. The prenup actually protects you from gold digger accusations. £5 million. And a restaurant is generous, but it's a fraction of Mr. Kensington's estate. It proves you're not after his fortune. She had a point. And I did love the restaurant space we'd found. A former bank building with soaring ceilings, original architectural details, and a perfect central London location. Okay, I agreed. I'll sign. There's one more thing, Fiona said. Mr. Kensington's ex-wife has indicated she may challenge the marriage on grounds of your prior relationship with Liam. She's alleging manipulation or undue influence. I laughed. Let her try. I broke up with Liam 6 months ago. Richard and I dated for 4 months before getting engaged. There's no legal ground for a challenge under the laws of England. She'll still try, Fiona warned. Catherine Kensington is well-connected and vindictive. She views this marriage as a personal attack. Everything is a personal attack to Catherine, Richard said tiredly. She'll make noise, threaten lawsuits, and ultimately do nothing. It's her pattern. Still, Fiona continued, I'd recommend keeping detailed records of your relationship. Save text messages, emails, receipts from dates. If she does sue, we'll need to prove the relationship is genuine. It is genuine, I said firmly. I know, Fiona said kindly, but courts like documentation. We signed the prenup, had it notarized, and filed it with Richard's estate solicitor. Everything was official. In 1 week, I'd become Mrs. Richard Kensington, and Liam would have to call me stepmother. The thought made me smile all the way home. The wedding day arrived faster than I'd expected. Richard and I stood in a small room at the registry office in Chelsea. Dressed simply, me in a cream knee-length dress, to him in a tailored navy suit, and exchanged vows in front of a registrar and 2 witnesses Richard had hired. Do you, Clara Davies, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do, I said, meaning it with every fiber of my being. Do you, Richard Kensington, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, Richard said, his eyes never leaving mine. Then, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Richard kissed me softly, sweetly, and when we broke apart, I saw tears in his eyes. Happy? I whispered. Incredibly, he whispered back. Thank you for taking a chance on an old man. Thank you for seeing me, I replied. We signed the marriage certificate, posed for a few photos, and then went to lunch at a quiet French restaurant. No fanfare, no crowd, no drama, just us. It was perfect. That evening, Richard posted a single photo to his rarely used social media account. The 2 of us with the marriage certificate, my hand with the wedding band visible, his arm around my waist. The caption was simple: married the love of my life today. Number blessed. Within an hour, it had 10,000 likes. Within 2 hours, the comments were a war zone. Catherine Kensington. This is sick and wrong. Richard, how could you do this to your son? Random society matron. She's young enough to be his daughter? Disgusting. Business associate. Congratulations, Richard. Wishing you both happiness. Another business associate. Beautiful bride. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Kensington. And then the comment I'd been waiting for. Liam Kensington. Dad, we need to talk. This is inappropriate. Richard replied simply, I'm married now. Liam, if you want to have a conversation like adults, call me. Otherwise, keep your opinions to yourself. I watched the exchange with dark satisfaction. Liam was panicking. Good. My own phone was blowing up too. More calls from Chloe, my mother, my father, a few curious friends asking if the rumors were true. Even some old colleagues from my catering days congratulating me. I responded to the friends and colleagues. I ignored my family. They're going to show up at the penthouse eventually, Richard warned. Your parents? Maybe Chloe and Liam? Let them, I said. We're married now. Legally, officially, completely. There's nothing they can do. Are you ready for the confrontation? I've been ready for years, I said. And it was true. I died in my first life from their cruelty. In this life, I was going to make them pay. The confrontation came 3 days later. The doorman called up to warn us. Margaret Davies, Catherine Kensington, Liam Kensington, and Chloe Davies were in the lobby demanding to see us. All of them together? I asked, surprised. That's quite a coalition. Catherine and your mother have apparently been speaking, Richard explained. They've recruited Liam and Chloe for this intervention. Should we let them up? Might as well, I said. Better to face them all at once than drag it out. 5 minutes later, my mother burst into the penthouse, like an avenging angel. Chloe and Catherine flanking her. Liam trailing behind, looking miserable. Clara Davies, my mother began, then caught herself. Or is it Kensington now? I can't even believe I'm saying this. You married this man? He's old enough to be your father. Hello, Mom, I said calmly. Nice to see you too. Would you like some tea? I don't want tea. I want an explanation. What were you thinking? I was thinking I'd found someone who loves and respects me, I replied. Something I never had before. You had Liam, Chloe interjected. And you threw him away. No, I corrected. I removed myself from a situation where I was undervalued. There's a difference. This is insane, Catherine said, speaking for the first time. She was an elegant woman in her 50s, and I could see where Liam got his looks. Richard, explain yourself. How could you seduce your son's ex-girlfriend? I didn't seduce anyone, Richard said coolly. Clara and I met, connected, and fell in love like adults do. You're taking advantage of her youth and inexperience, my mother accused. Am I? Richard asked. Clara, do you feel taken advantage of? Not even slightly, I confirmed. Richard has been nothing but respectful and supportive. He's helped me start my own business, encouraged my dreams, and treated me as an equal partner. It's more respect than I've ever gotten from this family. Your own business? My mother repeated. What business? I'm opening a restaurant, I said. A small fine dining establishment, focusing on modern French cuisine with British influences. The space is currently being renovated. We're targeting a spring opening. My mother's mouth opened and closed. With whose money? Mine, Richard said firmly. I'm investing in my wife's dream. That's what partners do. See? Catherine said triumphantly to Liam. He's buying her. This isn't love. It's a transaction. If I wanted to buy companionship, there are easier ways, Richard said dryly. Clara is brilliant, talented, and hardworking. She'd succeed with or without my investment. I'm simply accelerating the timeline. You're sleeping with your son's ex-girlfriend, Catherine shrieked, losing her composure. That's not investment. It's perversion. Liam and Clara broke up 6 months ago, Richard countered. She's not his anymore, assuming she ever was. And given that Liam is now engaged to Clara's sister, I don't think he has much room to judge my relationship choices. That brought everyone up short. Even my mother looked uncomfortable. That's different, Catherine tried. How? Richard demanded. How is Liam dating and marrying Clara's sister different from me dating and marrying Clara? Actually, I'd argue our situation is less weird because at least Clara and I aren't siblings. Liam and Chloe are in love, my mother insisted weakly. So are Clara and I, Richard replied. Or does our age difference somehow make our feelings less valid? It's inappropriate, Catherine sputtered. You're just mad because Dad's happy, a new voice said. We all turned. Liam had been silent until now, standing by the window, looking miserable. But now he stepped forward, his face conflicted. Liam? Sweetheart Catherine began. No, Mum, he interrupted. I need to say this. Dad's right. You're not mad because this is inappropriate. You're mad because he's moved on, and you haven't. You've spent 5 years since the divorce trying to punish him, using me as a weapon. And I let you because I was angry too. But this, he gestured at Richard and me. This isn't about me. This isn't an attack on me. Dad found someone who makes him happy. Maybe we should be happy for him. I stared at Liam in shock. This was not the reaction I'd expected. This was not the script from my first life. Have you lost your mind? Chloe hissed at him. Maybe I have, Liam said. Or maybe I'm finally seeing clearly. Clara, I need to apologize to you. Liam, I started. No. Let me finish, he insisted. You were right to leave me. I did use you. I let you work yourself to death supporting me, and I never appreciated it. I always thought you'd be there, that we had time, that I could pay you back later. But later never came, because I didn't make it come. And when you left, my pride was hurt. So I ran to Chloe. Not because I loved her, but because it was easy, because she was there and willing, and I didn't have to work for it. Chloe made a strangled sound. Liam, what are you saying? I'm saying I made a mistake, Liam said, looking at her for the first time. I'm saying I proposed to you for the wrong reasons. I'm saying this engagement is a mistake. You don't mean that, Chloe whispered. I do, Liam said gently. I'm sorry, Chloe. You deserve someone who's crazy about you, not someone who's settling. And I was settling. We both know it. Chloe's face crumpled. She turned to my mother. Mom, do something. But my mother was staring at Liam with an expression I'd never seen. Respect. Liam, are you sure about this? I'm sure, he said. I need to figure out who I am without using other people as crutches. I need to stand on my own. He turned back to Richard and me. Dad, Clara, I'm sorry for how I reacted. You're right. If I'm dating Clara's sister, I have no grounds to object to you dating Clara. And honestly, I'm glad you found each other. Dad, you look happier than I've seen you in years. And Clara, you look free. Like a weight has been lifted. It has been, I said quietly. Then I'm happy for you both, Liam said. Really? Catherine looked like she'd been slapped. Liam, you can't mean this. I do, Mum, he said. I'm sorry. I know you wanted me to stay angry at Dad forever, but I can't do it anymore. It's exhausting and it's not fair to anyone, especially me. He pulled off his suit jacket and reached for his wallet. From it, he withdrew a check. Dad, this is everything you've put toward my law college that I didn't know about until recently. I want to pay you back. It might take me years, but I'll do it. I need to make my own way. Richard's eyes were wet. Son, you don't have to. I do, Liam insisted. I need to know I earned my success myself. Not with Clara's sacrifice. Not with your money. Not with anyone's help but my own. Please let me do this. Richard took the check, then slowly tore it in half. You already did earn it, Liam. You studied hard. You graduated top of your class. You passed the solicitor's exam on your first try. The money was just money. The success was yours. Dad, but if you need to feel independent, I understand, Richard continued. Don't pay me back. Pay it forward. When you're established and successful, help some other struggling student. Mentor someone. Be the support you needed. That's how you honor my investment. Liam nodded, tears on his face. Okay, I can do that. Father and son embraced for the first time in years. Catherine made a disgusted sound and stormed out, but no one followed her. Chloe, meanwhile, had collapsed onto the sofa, crying. My mother sat beside her, looking lost. Clara, my mother said finally, I owe you an apology. You owe me several, I corrected. But I'm listening. I've always favored Chloe, she admitted. I don't know why. Maybe because she needed me more. Or seemed to. You were always so capable, so independent. I thought you didn't need the same kind of support. I thought you'd be fine no matter what. But I see now that I neglected you. I made you feel less important. And I'm sorry. It was the first time my mother had ever apologized to me in my first life or this one. Thank you, I said carefully. I appreciate that. Can we start over? She asked. I want to be part of your life. I want to know this new you. The one who's opening a restaurant and married a good man and seems genuinely happy. Can we try? I looked at her. Really looked at her. She seemed smaller somehow. Diminished. The revelation that Liam had broken up with Chloe had shattered the family dynamic she'd carefully constructed, where Chloe was the winner and I was the loser. We can try, I said finally. But it's going to take time. And you need to understand that Richard is my family now. If you can't respect my marriage, then we can't have a relationship. I respect it, she said quickly. I was wrong to barge in here like this. You're an adult. You made your choice. And looking at you two together, I can see it's the right choice. He looks at you like you hung the moon. I feel like I did, Richard said quietly, his arm around my waist. My mother nodded. Then I'm happy for you. Both of you. She stood and helped Chloe to her feet. Come on, sweetie. Let's go home. Chloe looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I hate you, she said venomously. I know, I replied calmly. You ruined everything. No, I corrected. I stopped letting you ruin me. There's a difference. You're vindictive. Maybe, I agreed softly. But I'm a vindictive who's happy, successful, and married to a man who adores me. What are you, Chloe? She didn't have an answer. My mother let her out. And then, it was just Richard, Liam, and me. I should go too, Liam said. But thank you for accepting my apology, for understanding. And Dad, thank you for not giving up on me even when I gave up on you. I'm your father, Richard said simply. I'll never give up on you. After Liam left, Richard and I stood in the silent penthouse holding each other. That went better than expected, he observed. Liam surprised me, I admitted. I didn't think he'd be mature about this. He's growing up, Richard said. Finally. Maybe losing you was the wake-up call he needed. And Chloe will hate you forever, probably, Richard said honestly. But her opinion doesn't matter. You're free of her, Clara. Free of all of them. He was right. I was free. Truly free for the first time in either of my lives. But I wasn't quite satisfied yet. There was one more piece of revenge I needed to complete. 3 months later, the restaurant opened. We called it Renaissance, a nod to my rebirth, though only I knew the full meaning. The space was stunning. Exposed brick walls, copper accents, soft lighting, an open kitchen where diners could watch me work. The menu was small but exquisite. Each dish a perfect marriage of French technique and British flavors. The opening night was invitation only, filled with food critics, Richard's business associates, and a few carefully selected influencers. Richard had wanted to keep my family off the guest list, but I'd insisted on inviting them. I wanted them to see my triumph. My parents came, dressed formally and looking uncomfortable among the wealthy crowd. Liam came with a new girlfriend, a sweet lawyer from his firm, who seemed genuinely kind. Catherine came solo, her face pinched with disapproval, and Chloe came, escorted by a man I didn't recognize. She'd lost weight, I noticed. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She looked diminished, unhappy. Good. I'd arranged the seating strategically. My family was at a large table near the kitchen pass where they could watch me command my space. Richard sat at the head of the table, his hand resting casually on mine between courses. The first course was a delicate sashimi presentation with yuzu pearls and microgreens. Perfect, precise, beautiful. This is incredible, my father said, his eyes wide. You made this? Every dish tonight is my creation, I confirmed. I developed all the recipes myself. The second course was a French onion soup, reimagined with miso and scallions. Comforting, yet sophisticated. My mother actually moaned when she tasted it. Clara, this is restaurant quality. This is Michelin star-level food. That's the goal, I said. The Times critic is here tonight. If I get a good review, we're positioned for a star within the year. The third course was my signature dish. Duck breast with black sesame mole and pickled daikon. It was complex, layered, ambitious. Liam took one bite and put down his fork. I am such an idiot, he said. His girlfriend looked confused. What do you mean? I convinced her to drop out of culinary school, Liam said, gesturing at me. To support me through law college. And she could have been creating this. She could have been building this career. But I asked her to sacrifice it for me. You didn't ask, I corrected gently. I chose to. And I don't regret it entirely. It taught me what not to do in a relationship. And it led me here eventually. Still, he said. I'm sorry. This is extraordinary. Thank you, I said. Chloe hadn't touched her food. She sat rigid in her chair, staring at me with unconcealed hatred. Something wrong with your dish? I asked innocently. It's fine, she bit out. You haven't tried it. I'm not hungry. Pity, I said. It's really quite good. The fourth course was a palate cleanser. Champagne sorbet with fresh lychee. The fifth was a stunning Wagyu beef with truffle potato puree. The sixth was a cheese course with house-made crackers and fig jam. And finally, dessert, a deconstructed black forest cake with cherry reduction and gold leaf. It was a triumph. Every course, every bite perfect. When the last dish was cleared, Richard stood and tapped his glass. I'd like to make a toast, he announced. To my brilliant wife, Clara. 4 months ago, she was catering other people's parties. Tonight, she's running one of the most exciting new restaurants in London. Her journey from there to here has been remarkable, and I'm honored to have supported even a small part of it. To Renaissance, to Clara, to new beginnings. To new beginnings, the room echoed, raising their glasses. I saw tears on my mother's face, pride on my father's, genuine happiness on Liam's, misery on Chloe's, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no joy in their pain. I felt free. The revenge I'd planned so carefully, orchestrated so precisely, didn't matter anymore. I'd already won. Not because I'd hurt them, but because I'd built something beautiful without them. Because I'd found love and success and happiness despite them. They couldn't take this from me. They couldn't diminish this. This was mine. Thank you, I said to Richard quietly. For believing in me? Always, he promised. The Times Review came out 3 weeks later. 3.5 stars. A stunning debut, the critic wrote. Chef Clara Kensington combines technical mastery with creative vision, creating dishes that are both intellectually stimulating and deeply satisfying. Renaissance is a restaurant to watch. 3.5 stars was extraordinary for a new restaurant. We were booked solid for the next 2 months. Investment offers poured in from people wanting to franchise or expand. A cookbook deal materialized. The Food Network called about a show. I was successful. Truly, genuinely successful. And it had nothing to do with revenge, and everything to do with my own talent, determination, and hard work. My relationship with my parents slowly improved. They made effort to visit regularly, to understand my world, to support my business. We'd never be perfectly close. Too much damage had been done, but we were cordial, cooperative, occasionally even warm. Liam and I became friendly. Not friends exactly, but friendly. He'd stop by the restaurant sometimes with his girlfriend, who he eventually married, and we'd chat about life, work, his growing law practice. He was a better person now, more humble, more aware. His time dating Chloe had apparently taught him valuable lessons about what he didn't want in a relationship. Catherine eventually accepted the marriage, especially after Liam made it clear he approved. She and I would never be close, but we achieved a brittle peace. Only Chloe remained hostile. She moved to Australia 6 months after the restaurant opened, claiming she needed a fresh start. I heard through my parents that she'd married someone wealthy, an older man, interestingly. But the marriage lasted less than a year. She'd apparently tried to play the same games with him that she'd played her whole life. But he'd been wise enough to see through her quickly. She bounced from relationship to relationship, job to job, city to city, always searching for something she couldn't name, never quite finding it. I felt bad for her sometimes. In quiet moments, I'd wonder if things could have been different, if she'd been different, if my parents had been different, if I'd been different in my first life, but then I'd remember she'd pushed me down the stairs. She'd watched me die. And even if that was in another timeline, another life, it had still happened. I still carried those memories. So, no, I didn't forgive Chloe, but I didn't hate her anymore either. I just felt indifferent. She was irrelevant to my happiness now. 5 years after our wedding, Richard and I stood in the kitchen of Renaissance, now a 2 Michelin star establishment with a 6-month waiting list. It was late, well after closing. We were testing new dishes for the spring menu. Try this, I said, offering him a spoonful of a new sauce I'd been developing. He tasted it thoughtfully. Incredible. What is it? Strawberry balsamic reduction with white miso and thyme, I said. For the lamb. It's perfect, he said. You're going to get a 3rd star this year. I can feel it. Maybe, I said. But that's not why I do this anymore. No? No, I confirmed. I do it because I love it. Because creating something beautiful matters to me. The stars are nice, but they're not the point. When did you get so wise? He teased. When I married you? I replied, kissing him. His health had improved dramatically over the past 5 years. The heart condition was managed with medication and lifestyle changes. We hiked regularly, ate well, though I still made him indulge in my desserts, and kept stress levels low. His doctor said he was in better shape at 57 than most men at 40. I got the tests back, he said casually. Clean bill of health. Doctor says I'll outlive you at this rate. Good, I said fiercely. You better. I'm not done with you yet. Neither am I, he promised. We talked about kids, but decided against them. Richard already had Liam, and I had my restaurant, my baby, my creation, my legacy. We were content with each other, with our life, with what we'd built together. Do you ever regret it? Richard asked suddenly. Marrying an old man, missing out on a conventional life. Never, I said honestly. You gave me everything I'd ever wanted and things I didn't even know I could want. You saw me when no one else did. You valued me when my own family didn't. You helped me build my dreams into reality. How could I regret any of that? I love you, he said simply. I love you too, I replied. And I meant it completely, genuinely, without reservation. Yes, I'd married him partly for revenge, partly to hurt Liam and Chloe, to show them what they'd lost, to prove I was worth more than they'd believed. But that had been the spark, not the fuel. The revenge was fleeting satisfaction. The love was lasting fulfillment. If I'd never been reborn, never gotten the second chance, I'd have died at 26, broken and alone. Instead, I was 31, successful, loved, and genuinely happy. That was the real victory, not destroying my enemies, but building my own life, not tearing them down, but rising above them. 10 years after our wedding, Richard and I celebrated our anniversary at Renaissance. The restaurant had 3 Michelin stars now, and I'd opened 2 more locations, one in New York, one in Paris. I'd written 2 cookbooks, hosted a successful cooking show, and been named one of the 50 most influential chefs in the world. I was 41, Richard was 67, and we were still disgustingly in love. Liam was there that night with his wife and 2 kids. He'd made partner at his firm and was genuinely happy. He'd paid forward his father's investment by mentoring dozens of struggling law students, providing internships and guidance and support. My parents were there too, elderly now, but still healthy. We'd achieved a comfortable relationship built on mutual respect. They were proud of me, finally. It had only taken building an empire for them to notice me. Even Catherine came, softened by age and grandchildren. She and I would never be best friends, but we could share a meal without tension. Chloe was not there. She'd sent a card, the first communication in years. It was brief. Congratulations on your anniversary. I hope you're happy. I was happy. Deliriously, contentedly, completely happy. To 10 years, Richard said, raising his glass. And to 50 more. To 50 more, I echoed, knowing it was impossible, but hoping anyway. We kissed across the table, and somewhere in the restaurant, I heard applause. Our staff celebrating with us, our friends, our family, our community. This was my life. This was my triumph. This was my revenge. Not against anyone else, but against fate itself. I died in my first life. A victim. I'd been reborn and refused to be a victim ever again. I'd been underestimated, overlooked, and undervalued. Now I was celebrated, respected, and loved. I'd been pushed down the stairs and left to die. Now I stood at the top of the mountain I'd built myself, looking out at a vista of possibilities. That was the ultimate revenge. Not hurting them, but healing myself. Not destroying them, but creating something beautiful. I looked at Richard, at his silver hair and laugh lines and eyes that still saw me with wonder. I looked at my restaurant, my creation, my dream made manifest. I looked at my life, hard won and precious, and I smiled. I'd let my sister take my boyfriend again. I'd married his father, and when they'd all panicked, I'd simply shrugged and built my empire anyway, because that's what survivors do. We don't just endure, we thrive. And I was thriving. Finally, truly, absolutely thriving. The end. And so concludes the story of Clara, a testament to the power of resilience, self-worth, and the beautiful realization that the best revenge is simply living a spectacular life. What began as a calculated plot for retribution against a treacherous sister and an ungrateful ex-lover evolved into a genuine journey of self-actualization and unexpected, profound love. By focusing her second chance on building her own empire rather than tearing others down, she not only escaped her tragic past, but created a breathtaking future. The story leaves us with a powerful message. We may not be able to control how others treat us, but we absolutely control how high we rise above it.